Thank you. Yes, my name is John from Google. So I'm here to talk about business messaging. I work in a partnerships role at Google on business messaging, and really the ethos of that is trying to open up conversational channels between businesses and consumers. So I'm not going to talk about dialogue flow or any of the things that we're doing in the sort of the building of bots or sort of those toolkits, but really providing channels for you, the greater sort of bot sort of building ecosystem to engage consumers. And I'll talk about two different things. But first, let's do a little exercise. Let's all get our phones out. If you don't have a phone, you can share with your neighbor. And I'd like you to find the text messaging app on your phone, maybe the old school, the thing that you use to send SMS, text messages to friends, families, loved ones. Don't open it up, but think about where that text messaging app is on your phone. Put your hand up if the text messaging app is not on the home screen of your phone. 1. So let's say, so 99%, I'm making up numbers, the vast majority of us have still got text messaging app on the home screen of our phone. Open up the messaging app, the app, and look for the most recent message that you've sent or received. And put your hand up if that's older than 24 hours old. If it's more than a day old, your last message. 2, I think. Put your hand up if it's more than 4 hours old. Few more hands I would expect. You're all a bit reluctant. So I guess it's a cheesy it's a cheesy bit of analysis, but I guess the message there is text messaging is still on the home screens of our phones, and we're still using it daily, most of us. So it's from a brand perspective that's trying to reach consumers where they are. That's a great place. Like, we've all stopped calling each other up as consumers. We've started to send each other messages, and clearly it's an omni-channel world. There's lots of other messaging apps, and I'm sure many of you got them on your phones. But from a business perspective, we often still have to call a business. We still have to pick up a phone and get into a conversation that maybe isn't natural to us. And so what we're trying to do at Google is open up some channels to allow that more natural messaging behavior between businesses and consumers. So the first thing that we're doing, and my slides are a little bit clipped here, but is upgrading SMS. So SMS is 27 years old. It's 160 characters of single color, single font, no images. It's the world's worst marketing channel, the world's worst engagement channel from a richness perspective, but we all still use it, or most of us still use it. So Google has really backed a standard called RCS to upgrade that product. And part of that RCS standard has a business messaging protocol to it. So we have an API, a developer website that allows you as bot builders, developers to use this toolkit to engage users and to reach people in that native messaging inbox, which is on the home screen of the phone. So this isn't an opt-in from a user. This isn't a new messaging app. This is something that's happening through native messaging. You can reach users in the home screen of their phone with a rich conversational surface. So you can send from the business name. Seems obvious that you'd be able to do that. With SMS, you have to send from a phone number, a short code or a long code. Now you can send from the name of the business. You can have branding elements. You can have a logo. You can have colors. You can make this look and feel like your business. We have cards, this notion of a rich card. I'm sure you're all used to using cards, perhaps in other channels. You can have a single card. You can have a carousel, thumb swipe left, right to go through cards. And those could be simple things. They could be a photo of a product, or they could be something more complex like this, a ticket, a boarding pass, something that has visual text information collected on it. And then we have what you can't really see on the slide, what we call chips, these sort of sausage-shaped buttons at the bottom here to allow, obviously this is maybe sort of more sort of level 1, level 2, sort of from a bot perspective, but you can tap through the conversation. Yes, no, change my seat, change my flight. Checkings account, savings account, whatever it might be. Visual elements that the user can tap through to accelerate through a program. And also for you as a business or a developer to convey the scope of the opportunity here. Rather than just having free-form text, how can we help you? You can list out a set of chips that say, these are the 7 things we're really good at, pick one of these, and help guide people to the areas where you can help them. So we've got to develop, lots of people here maybe have already integrated into the APIs. We have about 280 developers have built experiences against RCS, or rich business messaging, we also call it. for about, probably pushing 1,000 different businesses now, mostly in the US, Canada, and Mexico. We're up to, we're certainly pushing close to 20% coverage in Mexico this year. We're just about to launch in the beginning of June in France and the UK. We'll have all of the carriers covered in those markets. So we've got some learnings about what's working, what's not working, how people are succeeding. I think a lot of these from a sort of bot, sort of NLU, sort of level 5 perspective are going to feel really straightforward and simple and probably a little bit sort of eye-rolly to some of you. But hopefully it's helpful to sort of set the stage, maybe from where people are in messaging channels and maybe to provoke some ideas of how we can do things better. But what have we learned? I think the first thing that maybe a lot of people don't realize when they first start doing this is it's a branded conversation. And the first part there is it's branded, I think is really important. People coming from a messaging background are used to a very transactional channel. Your flight's delayed, your package is being delivered. It's just informational. There's no emotion, there's no subjectivity, there's no sort of branding element. Here we've got a channel that's reaching into that messaging app where I get messages from my wife, from my kids, and suddenly getting a message from a brand, it's a very personal perspective. And it might be that there's 10 million people having that experience, but for me, it's just one personal interaction with a brand, and that actually changes my perception of the brand in very powerful ways, and that can be good and it can be bad. This is an example for Kroger. I guess we all know who Kroger are, US grocery retail chain. This is just their first welcome message when you start interacting through Kroger. So you see the logo, it's nice and clean, you automatically understand that's the business where I buy my groceries, but their first welcome card here is a picture of some fresh vegetables. It's some nice looking tomatoes, mushrooms, things are sliced up. So it immediately says, this is a place that I go for fresh produce, it's for home cooking, it's for making my own meals. They could equally have showed a promotional thing here saying 15% off this month. They could have a picture of cat food or frozen pizzas, but they don't. Setting the tone of that really sort of starts to create an emotional response in users, and I think that's important. The second is it's conversational, and again, this is going to be obvious to you as an audience, but I think a lot of businesses are used to, maybe a sort of controlled environment and a one-way environment. Opening this up as a conversation and inviting a response from users is powerful. This is ChatKits. I don't know if anybody's in ChatKits here. One of our sort of partners building agents. And I put this here just as a sort of a counterpoint to the first one. This is a bot that they built for their customers to illustrate some of the ChatKit functionality, but it starts off with GIFs. It's irreverent, it's got humor, it's got personality. So just like, picking different elements, picking different sort of styles of that persona has a very different emotional response in users. Next lesson is starting with simple. It's a relatively simple set of features: the chips, the carousels, the cards, obviously free-form text. You can construct an awful lot of different things there, and you could try and build all the functionality of your website. You could try and build all the functionality of your mobile app, but that's probably not a great place to start. I think the people that are doing this best start off with something simple. Maybe it's level 1. Learn from that, gather some data, get some KPIs, and keep expanding. And maybe this is the third Citibank bot that we found today, but this is text banking. So Citi have a text banking product, and if you are a Citi customer, you can text into a short code with the keyword BAL, and it'll tell you what your balance is. Or you can use different keywords to check your different accounts, to check your recent transactions and other functions. But as consumers, who wants to remember a whole series of text keywords for banking? Certainly, they're not going to fit in sort of my brain. So they just took their text banking product, converted it over to RCS, and now you've got it in a visual format. You can see that it's from Citibank. You see the name. You see the verification shield. You trust this is Citibank. And you have a visual way of tapping through those things. And it is very simple. You can look at your balances. You can flip between your accounts. You can see your recent transactions, and they're presented in a visual way, but it's frictionless. You can get your phone out. You don't have to have the app. You don't have to scroll and find the app. It's in messaging on the home screen of your phone. You can get that information. So that was step 1. Step 2 was then, okay, well, some people want to talk to us. And now they've opened up a link to customer care. So you don't like your balance. Hey, I thought I had more than that. I've just been paid. I'm concerned. You now hit the button, and then you're dropped into a conversation with somebody in a contact center. So start simple, move on from there. This is also probably sort of cheesy, but I think it's a sort of universal truth and worth stressing. So images are very, very powerful. This is Subway. We all know who Subway are. They have a text club, so they send out a weekly message. This isn't even a bot. This is just a one-way bit of information. Not very defensible, perhaps. But they have this text club. They have about 4 million people in the US who have opted in to receive a weekly text message from Subway with a special promotion. It's a free bag of chips with your lunch. It's a large soda. It's 2 meatball marinaras for $11. It changes every week, and you have to show that message in Subway to get that promotion. They upgraded that with RCS, just added a picture of the sandwich to the text. They kept the same gobbledygook text message, abbreviated language, and they get over 2.5 times redemption. And that sort of KPI, that ROI, is people going into store and buying a sandwich. So just seeing the sandwich as well as reading about it conveys, that looks like a good meatball marinara. I am hungry. Maybe I'll go to Subway for lunch today. So just having those images as well as text makes things far more powerful, which is, common sense, but I think it is worth stressing. Another example, this is a European airline, just being able to some consumers that fly, I'm a United customer, I fly with them far too much. Their app is on the home screen of my phone, but there are lots of other times when maybe I'm flying with an airline and I don't have the app, but I do have messaging. So being able to deliver that boarding pass into messaging in the home screen of my phone, you're flying in 3 hours, don't forget, here's your boarding pass, has really high utilities for the customer, but then obviously opens that up as a conversational experience. Do I want to change my seat, upgrade, change my flight, etc.? I think the other thing we've learned is you can use cards for choices. So there's a couple of examples. This is, it's maybe a sort of trivial example. This is Paris Saint-Germain. This is the French soccer team. This is for their US fan base. And they have an ongoing sort of bot-based dialogue with the club. So for each game, you get sort of teaser messages before the game. Don't forget to watch. What's the score going to be? Team lineups. After the game, you get information, score highlights. Do you want to click through and see videos? But there are interactive elements. Who was the best player? And rather than just asking who was the best player, you've got a carousel of the players. And you can kind of thumb through and say, I think it was player X. Simple to do, but if you just ask the question, who was the best player, you've got, the user has to sort of think through who do they think. Versus presenting a carousel, you can pick through and drill down to the thing that's interesting to you. Another example, this is a UK reality TV example around sort of promotions. So you're participating in promotions around TV. So you're watching TV, you start to sort of engage through the bot, through RCS, and you can see the different offers. And you'll see here as they come through, they contain different graphical elements, text elements, interactive things, so I can click through and find more information, but it allows you to drill down and find the thing that's most relevant to you. The chips, the little sort of lozenge, sort of sausage sort of things are great for user speed. It allows you to present options to users they can tap through. You don't have to open the keyboard. You don't have to type. It becomes very frictionless. You can do it in a very asynchronous way. You can be doing this while doing other things. This is a customer care example from Overstock, US retailer. Home furnishings, tables, rugs, chairs, etc. They use RCS they've sort of moved a lot of their post-purchase communication from email into RCS. So you get a purchase confirmation. Thank you for buying. Here's a picture of what you've bought. Here's what's going to happen next. You get a shipping notification. Your item shipped. Here's the tracking link. You can go through and see it. You get a delivery notification. This little GIF here is from like a kind of customer service thing 3 days after you receive your product. So this person's bought a table, nice little wooden side table. 3 days after you get it, you get a message saying, please rate your table. So you're sitting in a conference like this, your phone buzzes, what is it? You look, and it's a picture of your table. How do you like your table? And you've got chips, 1 star, 2 stars, 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. This person just taps 4 stars, and they've reviewed that table. And Overstock now get over 12% of people reviewing each of their purchases, whereas before they got less than 1%. Before it was an email, please rate your table, click through, go to the website, what's my Overstock password? I really don't care, it's just a table. You're not going to do that. So most people weren't rating products. Now it's frictionless, it's asynchronous, it's easy. You can just do that inside messaging with one tap and That's great for overstock. It's great for the next purchases because there's far more reviews there. But if I don't like the table, if I hit 1 star or 2 stars, it drops me into a customer care flow. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you want to go to returns? Do you want to talk to an agent? If I want to talk to an agent, then it drops me through into a live conversation, and I can discuss why I'm not happy with my table. So it also helps sort of rescue those customers that maybe aren't happy with their products. So again, it's just it's a toolkit that can be used to create simple experiences, but also complex experiences. Obviously, you can have free-form text entry, you can have NLU, you can build some powerful things there. The other thing is it's messaging, but it's sitting on a phone. Obviously, it's a powerful device, so you can build great experiences inside of messaging, but also you can use that as a trigger to do other things. You know, we can have those links push out, okay, do you want to add this hotel booking to your calendar? Do you want to see it on Maps? Do you want to make a phone call? Do you want to download the app from the App Store? Do you want to deep link across to the app when you have it there? So things like the City app, you know, maybe you're just checking your balance and it's great in messaging, but now I want to move some money around and I want to do that authenticated. Okay, let's push this across to the app. Let's do it in a place where things are more secure, or let's move us across to the website. So you can use messaging as maybe the first 3, 4, 5 turns in a conversation, and then move people to somewhere else as needed. And this is an example. This is another UK example. Sort of Pizza Hut, where you can go through and start thinking about, I want to buy a pizza, but then when it actually comes to transacting, they're currently pushing people across the web. And again, that's a simple start. You can build more of that functionality into messaging as you go. So that was a whistle-stop tour. This is RCS. This is really trying to upgrade SMS. So this is phone number addressed into that native messaging app on the home screen of the phone. So it's powerful if you already have a relationship with customers through a phone number. You're already doing SMS. This is a way to upgrade that experience, make it conversational, and reach out to that home screen of the phone. But it tends to be good for outbound use cases where a business has permission from the user, has some information, and wants to start that conversation. Obviously, it's conversational and can be two-way from there. But think of that as a product that's good for outbound. And we've been doing that for well over a year now, and you'll see us through this year launch pretty much all markets around the world. This is going to be something that more and more consumers have on their devices. The other thing we're doing, and this is certainly more early and perhaps more experimental from Google's side, is the sort of perhaps the point of discovery. Maybe a lot of you are building bots, and they're great and they're fantastic and there's a really rich experience, but how do consumers find them? How do we as individuals go off and think about finding those bots and those discovery surfaces? And so we think about this often from a customer care perspective, and customer care is still very voice-based, and it's very expensive. There are hundreds of billions of consumer-to-business phone calls every year. They cost in the US typically between $5 and $10. It's over $1 trillion market. So it's very frustrating often for the business. It's great to talk to customers, but also it's very expensive. And as consumers, it's painful for us. None of us could be making a phone call through to our phone company or our bank or our airline while we're sitting at a conference like this, but we could be messaging with them. So Google brings some sort of strengths here. So what are the things that we're, and I'd say it is experimental, things we're doing today is to start to put messaging calls to action in search results. So here you'll see on the left, and it's perhaps a bit hard to read the screen, but somebody searched for a shopping mall. The Google throws up the search listings, and one of the things that we're now presenting there is a message button. So you can tap that message button. You can open up. We have a conversational overlay we can put on top of search, and then you have a conversation with them all. And we provide you, the bot community, if you like, with an API so you can handle the business side of that conversation. So you can start to leverage Google Search for the point of discovery, and then we have this conversational surface that you can use to have the business side of that conversation. This is something that we've launched with just, it's sort of tens of businesses in the US so far, but we're looking to expand those things rapidly, and I think that's going to be interesting, particularly for these inbound customer service use cases where people are coming to Google, perhaps they're finding the phone number or finding a web link, but now we'll be able to open up a conversational route from there. So if that's interesting, we'd love to talk to you about that, and maybe we can we can look to do some more pilots there. So I've had the 5-minute warning. I think we were hoping to do questions. So my contact details are there. If you want to reach out to me sort of privately, happy to to sort of answer any sort of questions, or we can perhaps do a few now.
Before we ask questions, we first must give. That means put your hands together and give it up for not John, but Rob. All right, did you have your hand up, sir?
Yeah, I'm sorry if you mentioned this at the beginning and I missed it. Is this only working right now? Is this available just on Android phones? Is it on iPhone as well?
So the thing I spent most of the time talking about, RCS, is a telco standard. Google has backed it. So today it is only available on Android, but it's a standard like SMS is a standard. So the expectation is it will be universal. But today it's Android only. We're talking to Apple. Other people are talking to Apple. I would expect, just like Apple supports green bubble SMS messaging, as RCS becomes more widely adopted, they would support that as well. But today it's Android. The second product, driven from search, is across both platforms.
And as a business sender, do I need to know in advance if someone is an RCS-enabled phone or not when I'm sending the message?
Part of our sort of APIs is something we call the capability check. So you can look up a phone number in real time and we'll tell you whether it's RCS-enabled or not, or you can look up 10 million phone numbers and we'll tell you which one of those are. So you can sort of understand which people get RCS versus SMS, or you can roll back to some other experience.
Thank you.
Más preguntas?
Hi, a bit of user experience questions. What kind of control does the user have over this process, opt-in, opt-out?
Yeah, good question. So I'll answer it two ways. So it's the user has to give their phone number and their permission to the business, again, for the first product to receive it, just like you do for SMS. So if United is going to send me a text saying, my gate's changed, that's because I've given them my phone number and given them some permission, and there's usually legislation country by country that governs how that permission is handled. So that has to have happened. This can't just be a sort of spam channel. Within the messaging surface itself, we have some user controls that they can block businesses, they can report as spam. So Google is monitoring those, and any business that starts to see abnormal levels of blocking or sort of spam reporting, we will investigate and potentially shut down. And then separately, we're a sort of data controller here. We don't have access to the data, except for we do pass message through spam and fraud detection, using similar kind of algorithms we use for Gmail. So if we see things that we think are unsavory in any way, that sort of raises alarm bells and things get shut down there as well. So we're sort of handling it on the sort of permission side, but also sort of monitoring quality through user feedback and algorithmically.
In the back here, Rob.
Yep.
Hey, Rob, it's Dustin with Bot Copy. In 2016, when Facebook Messenger kind of launched the bot experiences, they were kind of, the value prop was it's a personal space and the open rates are going to be really high. So same here, the SMS is traditionally a personal space without bots. So how do you approach the kickback that you might get from people that don't want broadcast messaging, that find it actually quite annoying to get these bots invading a space that we've considered friends and family?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think one thing I would say is it's happening today. Like, I'm guessing if you look at your SMS inbox, some percentage of those things will be from businesses. So it's not maybe sort of foreign as a user experience to get messages from my airline, from my bank, from FedEx or whatever it might be in that inbox. It's already happening. It's a multi-tens of billions dollars industry around delivering business messages there. So. And I think, certainly from a US perspective, it's heavily regulated. Like, there's real pain to a business that abuses permissions there. It also has traditionally had some sort of cost associated with it, so people aren't necessarily sending messages that have little user value. So I think there's a sort of natural ecosystem, like, if I was to get annoying messages from my bank, I'm going to start to dislike my bank, and that's not good for the bank's relationship with me. So I think the business has typically some self-control there, but then as I described before, we've definitely built in tools for the user to give feedback to things that they're not comfortable with. If it's hey, I want to get gate change information, that's great, but if you send me a daily message saying 10% off flights to Milwaukee, like, I don't care about that, and that's just going to be frustrating. I don't want it to be a promotional channel, perhaps, unless I've said, like in the Subway case, well, I do want promotions because that's why I want to interact with you. So I think it's down to some sort of basic sort of laws of doing business, but we've tried to build in tools that users can flag bad behavior quickly.
One more question. If you could just text it to me, that'd be great. All right, hopscotch.
Just while you're on your question on open rates, we actually, it's a very measurable channel. We see, I think it's 86% is the average sort of the read rate of a message. And read means opening up the conversation and showing that full message on the screen of the phone. So we, very high kind of read rate by users. That messaging inbox is still, very sort of measured. And a message that came in as a push notification and you read the notification and didn't open up the inbox wouldn't be flagged as read. So that 86% is just people that actually then subsequently open the conversation. So it has a very high level of sort of consumption and notice, and you can measure that in total, but also on a speed basis. What percentage are read within a minute, an hour, whatever that might be. So that's all instrumented through the platform.
Hey, Rob. Question on the banking example. How is the user authenticating? Is it happening each time they're opening the RCS message?
Yep.
Interaction with the bank?
Great question. So authentication for banking. So the Citi example is it's just using the phone number as as a sort of proxy for authentication. I don't know if that's right, but I guess there's a certain limited set of functionalities in text banking where just having the phone number is sufficient authentication to trust that user. So giving them the balance, giving them the last 5 transactions, etc., is seen to be sufficient authentication. But if they actually wanted to sort of drill down and move money or anything, then it would require some deeper level of authentication. We are building OAuth 2 into the second platform to allow, you want to move beyond those sort of trivial authentication modes and to sort of username, password type authentication, handle that in a secure way with a token that you would trust as a bank. So, we are very sort of conscious around, particularly financial services as being, heavily regulated. Lots of trust is needed. So building tools that are relevant for that industry. So.
All right, put your Google hands together because you know that you Google all the time. So thank you, Rob.
Thank you.